Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Keith Andrew, and this is episode 257. I'm here with Susan Brender. Super Susan Brender is a host of her own show, The Susan Brender Show. And I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Thank you, Keith. It's my pleasure to be on your show.
Now, for people who want to know what the Keith Andrew Network is, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities. But you should never give up, and you should prove to people you can still amount to something. With that being said, I have a half hour, 35 minutes of your time, 40 maximum, but you have as much time as you like. And starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Well, I started out as a producer for television, and I realized that the future was in doing podcasts online. And so, at some point in my past, I decided that doing a podcast would be a very interesting thing to do. Now, the first time I rambled on, and I just had no idea what I was doing. And then suddenly, it occurred to me that, well, it just takes a little bit of thought, research, getting to know your guest, and understanding that the world is full of different kinds of subjects. And so then I remembered and I thought about, wow, this is going to be fun. I really started to feel passionate about it. And, I'll tell you something, Keith. It has been a great thing to do, and I'm doing it for now, I would say about 5-6 years. I also want to tell you that I interviewed some of the most incredible guests. So I view this as an opportunity to do something that is really fun. And as I said, I'm just passionate about it.
No, absolutely. Now, what can you tell us about life growing up? Did you ever do sports when you were growing up, or are you a study nerd or party animal in college?
Well, no, actually, when I was in college, and before college, when I was a kid, my mother used to call me a tomboy, and the reason she did that is because I loved to be outside. I loved to go in the woods. I loved to climb rocks. And now, as an adult, you ready for this? I jump out of airplanes. I hang glide. I drive NASCARs. I kayak. I do everything I want, and I love to be outdoors. I love to see the sky. I love to see the beauty of our country. We live in a fabulous country.
No, absolutely. And now the next question I was going to ask you, was there anything you always wanted to do but never got the chance to do?
Good question, Keith. Yes, the answer to that is yes. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. So I lived in Manhattan, in New York, and I used to go to different studios in Greenwich Village, and I'd sit there absolutely in awe of all of these stars. And many of the stars you would know very well because they're popular, but it was something I wanted to do. But I didn't have the reinforcement. And just as I heard from you when we talked in the past, nobody gave me the encouragement. Nobody gave me the desire to pursue what I wanted to do. So I wound up being a teacher first, and then somehow I got very lucky, and I got a job with MSNBC and CNBC as a producer for Charles Grodin, Phil Donahue, and many more.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you was, who influenced you to get into that type of work that you do? And actually, let's just go with that one first. But who influenced you, and how did this all come about?
Well, I'll tell you a very interesting story. working at CNBC and MSNBC was great. I loved it. I loved it a lot. And in fact, I worked with, as I mentioned before, Charles Grodin, and he was just a gentleman. He gave me many opportunities to interview very interesting people as well. But, working for a different network is not what you think. Some people work full-time and some people don't. Some people are just hired, like I was, as an independent producer. So when my show got canceled, I felt that there was just more to do. Now, what happened was I was introduced to Larry Flint. You know Larry Flint of Penthouse? No, not Penthouse, excuse me. The Larry Flint who does Hustler magazine. And who would think that I would do something like that work for Larry Flint? But when Larry Flint and I met, I was taking him all around to different radio shows, different TV shows, and it was really a very exciting time. And luckily, I thought about this and I said, Larry, you love politics. You love to talk about the First Amendment. So let's do something called a podcast. Now, I admit to you that, did I really know what a podcast was? I didn't. But I had the head, let's call it the head, for calling up, researching, and getting in touch with people who knew what a podcast was. So I lucked out, and I met this guy, and he said, nowadays we are doing all kinds of things with the computer, okay? And I'm going to hire you to start a woman's channel, okay? A woman's channel on the computer. Well, what a great thing that was. Oh, yeah. I got all excited and I started. I knew a lot of people because of my experience with television. And so I called them and I said, would you like to be a host of a show? And guess what they said? Yes. And so, what happened was I started doing a podcast, and wow, it was great. I started to interview Lucy Arnaz, Tova Feldshuh, all kinds of doctors, all kinds of people who were successful in business, like you said, CEOs and people like that. And I realized, wow, this is a great thing. It's easy, not a hassle. And then I met my producer, Deborah, and she's made it easy for me. She's the technology person, not me. But how I started was just by accident, really, if you think about it.
Well, things work out for a reason.
Yes. Something, I agree with that. Things do work out for a reason. And my life is so rich. Doing this thing called a podcast makes me feel, when I get up in the morning, I have something special to do, productive. Anything you want to think, that's how I feel about what I do.
No, absolutely. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'm going to do a couple quick plugs. And after I do that, I'm going to ask you, who did you want to interview on your show, and what was it like working for big name companies? Doing a quick commercial break first. Hold up a piece of paper so I know when I edit it. The first sponsor I want to say, first, I guess you could say sponsor recommendation I want to give out is CelebrityVM.com, and you should be on there too. I'm on there. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I said I don't know about it. Please tell me after the show.
Basically, with Celebrity VM, it's like for people who want to get a celebrity recommendation. Say you come across my profile. Hey Keith, today's my birthday. My husband is turning 60 today. My kids are getting married. Can you give me a congratulations? Anything and everything, as long as it's not perverted. For $30 or $20, I changed it. I don't remember what it was. But for whatever price the people ask, I would say whatever you want. It can be a 2-minute video, it could be a 5-minute video. And you get actors, actresses, models, people from Breaking Bad, people from Game of Thrones, you have people from Rescue Me, The Walking Dead, you have everything you can think of, and it's YouTube stars like myself, so you can get a great deal at CelebrityVM.com, and also my last one I'm going to introduce is WooCrate.com for people who like collecting shirts, shot glasses, toys. Go to WooCrate.com, and there's a whole bunch of different boxes you can choose, and like I say, it's $14 a month. It's an ongoing thing, so once a month you get a box filled with different things, different themes, so different boxes you can choose. And actually the last one I do one for all the dog lovers out there, hopefully they will do one for the cats, but for right now, for the dog lovers, go to BarkBox.com. And same thing like WooCrate, there's WooCrate, there's BarkBox, there's Level Up, a whole bunch of other great things out there. But BarkBox is only for dogs. So $14 a month, give or take. You get like a dog treats, toys, a shirt, a jacket. It's really nice. Go to BarkBox.com. And now going back to the show, you mentioned you worked with a couple of big names. Who were some of your favorites you worked with? Who are the ones you couldn't stand? And tell us about your talk show. How did it start? Is it still going on?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, I interviewed quite a few people as a result of my working for television. On television, I had a lot of people. Sorry.
You were saying you were interviewed a lot of big names.
Yeah, well, one of the big names that I interviewed when I started doing this podcast was Lucy Arnaz. Lucy was an amazing guest. She talked all about her father and her mother, and you can imagine how fabulous that was. Talked about her life and all the wonderful things that she does. I mean, she's involved in so many things, and she's got a different attitude than a lot of stars. Her family is one of the most important thing to her. And I found that out, and I was a little surprised, not because she loved her family so much, but that she prioritized. And she and her husband, Larry Luckenbill, who I also interviewed, they were just so down to earth, it was amazing. Now, another person who really made me, I just adore her, was this Tova Feldshuh. And for those people who don't know who she is, she played Golda Meir on Broadway. She's in The Walking Dead. She's in Law and Order. I mean, she's a very famous star, and if you see her, you'll know who she is. Now, the reason I enjoyed interviewing her was that she feels that no matter what age you are, you can do anything you want to do. She said, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. And she meant it. And I was, needless to say, I was pretty impressed. Because, while she's not old, she's also not young. But she said, when you have a life to live, you live it to the highest, to the best. So she was another one of my guests who I really enjoyed. And then the list goes on and on. My show is all about vitality. It's about vitality in the arts, vitality in business, vitality in health. Can you imagine when you listen to music that you're transformed in ways you can't even describe? So I interviewed jazz artists, and just this week I interviewed Marlo Rosado. Now, for those people who don't know Latin jazz, he's one of the tops. He's won Emmy Awards, and he is also such a nice guy. Tito Puente, okay, and Obiarto. These are all Latin jazz, and I interviewed women who are blues singers. Wow, they all of them are just amazing people. And as far as health is concerned, I'm finding out that when you do a show that gives people information and education about their health, that's when you grab them. That's, if you want to call it, a tease, because everybody wants to know how to be healthy. Okay, and as far as business is concerned, everybody also wants to know, how do they make money? Okay, money is a powerful tool, a powerful thing. So these are the kinds of things that I want to do. I want to interview as many people as possible and give people the education and information they need.
No, absolutely. Now, wrapping up on my part, then I'm going to pass it over to you real fast, is that, for one question that you asked me a while ago, now I'm going to ask you, is how did you start your talk show? Who helped you take the steps? And how did it become into this whole big phenomenon? And for someone who's like me, who wants to start his own show and follow in your footsteps, what were the recommendations that you would give?
Yeah, good question. Well, I started this show as a result of being laid off from television. My show was canceled and I lost my show. I was an independent for various stations, but I decided that, okay, so I just did a television productions. Now, why not do radio? I thought about radio. And then I found out about this phenomena called podcasting. So I started. And the person who helped me was a very, very interesting guy out of Washington State. I don't want to mention his name at the moment, but I will say that he showed me how you do it, how easy it is. And then I brought a list of people whom I thought I should interview. I called them up and I said, would you like to be on the Susan Brender show? And guess what they said? Yes. And so that's how it all started. It just was my imagination. I thought, wow, okay, so you come from television, now you're going to do like radio online. And radio online is a podcast. So if I have an opportunity to tell my audience, if you want to do a podcast, you can do it. It just takes a little time. It's a choice. You have to do a little research. You have to have help because you can't do it all by yourself. And that's it.
No, absolutely. Now, passing the show to you, how can people follow you on social media? Are you on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn? And was there anything you wanted to promote or talk about? This is your time, after all.
Okay, thank you so much, Keith. I appreciate this. Yeah, well, if you want to get in touch with me, my website is V as in Victor, 4, F-O-R, vitality.com. And if you want to email me, it's S as in Susan, E as in Edward, Brender, B-R-E-N-D-E-R @yahoo.com. I would love to have people get in touch with me, and if they want some knowledge about how to do a podcast or anything. I mean, some of the people who I interviewed, if you want to kind of talk about them or you want to get involved in discussing politics or anything like that, get on my website and email me, and that's it. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. You can find my programs on YouTube and iHeartRadio. And I would just love if people would get in touch with me. That's it.
Well, wrapping up the talk show segment, I just want to say it was a real honor and privilege to have you as a guest.
Thank you very much, Keith. Let's do this again. You're an inspiration, as I said to you. You know, I love the idea that a young guy like you is doing what you're doing, and so keep it up, and thank you for interviewing me.